Our story begins with a quote informing us that over 40% of people suffer from sleep paralysis. 2/3 of them describe being attacked by a demonic entity. Then we observe a young girl sleeping in bed until she suddenly wakes up. She walks out of her room to call for her mom. She hears sounds behind her door. Soon, the girl's mom comes out in a panic, urging her daughter, Sophie, not to look inside the bedroom. But Sophie sees the frightening sight anyway, her father lying distorted in bed. During the opening credits, we see many pictures and news articles connected to disturbing happening. Eventually, the word Mara is displayed over them in big red letters. After that, we see our protagonist sleeping in bed. She is Kate Fuller, a criminal psychologist. Shortly after she awakens, Kate goes running. While she does, she gets a phone call and tells the person she is on her way. The next scene has her arriving at a crime scene, where she is greeted by Detective McCarthy. He informs her that a woman named Helena took her husband's life. They need to evaluate her state of mind. McCarthy says it should be easy, even for a rookie like Kate. Upon bringing the doctor inside the house, we see it is the house we saw in the beginning. Kate sees Sophie's father lying in the same position his daughter saw him in. McCarthy shows this to Kate because he wants her to understand the reality of what they are dealing with. Kate takes some pictures of the papers there. One of them has the word Takaha's on it, yet it looks unfinished due to being ripped. We then see a traumatized woman standing in the living room. It is Sophie's mother, Helena. Kate comes to her to ask if Helena can hear her, but she just stands there, shaking. Following that, the doctor enters the room where Sophie's grandfather resides. He tells Kate that Sophie is under the bed. He also says that Kate should be looking for an addict by the name of Doogie. When that short conversation is over, Kate looks under the bed to see Sophie. Since the girl does not want to come out, Kate joins her there. Sophie lies with her stuffed toy, which Kate asks the girl to draw for her. While Sophie does that, Kate tells her she used to have a hiding place like this. It was a place where no one could find her. At that moment, Sophie says that if she talks to Kate, the doctor will take her mom away. Kate replies that her mother went to a hospital. She got better, though. Kate wants Sophie to tell her if she remembers anything from last night. Kate has to promise that Sophie's mom will not be taken away. After doing so, Sophie says she heard scary noises that caused her to see what was going on. Once Kate asks her what she saw, Sophie gets uncomfortable and her crayon breaks. All Kate wants to know is who hurt the girl's father. Mara is the name she whispers to Kate. Having received that information, Kate returns to Helena to inform her that she spoke to Sophie. Upon asking the traumatized woman who Mara is, Helena instantly turns around to release a wicked scream. From such a reaction, we realize it wasn't a name that Sophie just imagined. The next scene has Kate sitting with Helena in a room where they talk. Helena says her husband, Matthew, was barely sleeping, which caused him to lose his mind. He broke down to confess that he cheated on Helena with a student. She wanted a divorce because of his infidelity. Matthew begged her to forgive him, but she could not. Every time she looked at Sophie, she felt guilty. Kate wants to know what happened last night. Helena tells her she woke up completely paralyzed. There was something evil in the room. She also heard awful music. Then she witnessed the sleep demon, Mara. She cries, while saying there was nothing she could do. All she says is that Mara climbed on Matthew's chest, without finishing the rest. Helena swears that she didn't take her husband's life. After the talk, McCarthy tells Kate that Helena is insane. However, Kate wants to be sure before she commits the woman to a mental institute. McCarthy is convinced that that is where she belongs, yet Kate stands her ground. At her home, Kate looks at the picture Sophie drew for her. We see that she also writes on an official paper that Helena should be committed to a mental hospital. She apologizes to Sophie as she does it. We should remember that Kate promised the girl she wouldn't take her mom away. Suddenly, her wine glass shatters. It is a mystery why that happened, or what that could mean. The next day, at the police station, Helena is talking lovingly with her daughter. A man from a mental hospital soon arrives to take Helena away. Being uninformed about this, Helena makes a scene. Both mom and daughter suffer due to this sudden misfortune. It causes Sophie's stuffed animal to get ripped in the process. All Kate can do is hug the young girl to comfort her. Afterward, Kate sleeps in bed at night. She starts to experience the same thing Helena described. She gets pressed down into the bed, unable to move. We see that someone is in her house. A loud noise makes the doctor get up again. When she turns on the lights, no one is there anymore. Soon, she looks at one of the papers she collected at the crime scene. It reminds her of one of the pictures she took, so she opens her iPad to find the picture with Takaha's written on it to connect the paper to it. Doing so completes the name Takahashi. It also states that he knows more. There is an address on the paper, which Kate chooses to drive to. Once she arrives, she knocks on the door, though it is already open. Letting herself inside, Kate calls out to Takahashi. No one answers her inside the messy house. She starts entering a room where static sounds become increasingly louder. Someone lies under a cover there. It is a troublesome moment for our heroine to approach such an unclean situation inside a stranger's house. Yet she makes herself remove the cover to reveal a corpse. She screams at such a horrific sight. Later, McCarthy tells her it was unknown who Takahashi was because he was an unregistered U.S. citizen. Kate points out that his injuries match the ones of Matthew's murder. McCarthy opposes that thought by saying there are similarities, but they're not solid enough to suggest the same perpetrator. He even says it's possible that Helena could have ended Takahashi, in addition to her husband. Kate objects to that. She then brings up the name Doogie and says they need to question him. McCarthy keeps up his opposing mindset, telling her he's the detective. The lawman is not making it easy for her. After that, Kate enters the place where Helena is being kept. The doctor sits before her, the woman whose mind seems to be elsewhere. When she asks Helena about Takahashi, she doesn't get any answer. Since that is the case, Kate asks about Doogie. Still not receiving an answer prompts her to say that when Kate was Sophie's age, her mom acted strangely. She thought the TV was talking to her, along with her being spied on by the government. Eventually, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Kate's father had a hard time dealing with that, so he had her committed. 3 weeks later, herself. By telling that story, we realize Kate lied to Sophie about her mom becoming better. Because of her mother, Kate became a psychologist. Due to that story, Helena starts talking. She tells Kate that she found a support group for Matthew, which was run by Dr. Ellis. That is where she met Takahashi and Doogie. Matthew felt much better after having met other sleep sufferers. On that dreadful night, though, he woke up paralyzed with a red mark inside his eye. He saw her, the being Helena does not want to name. After having revealed all of this, Helena asks to go home to Sophie. Kate sidesteps the traumatized woman's plea by assuring her they will find her husband's culprit. At that point, Helena turns foul, angrily telling Kate that her husband was taken by a sleep demon. She shows that she has a red mark inside her eye, meaning that she is marked by the demon. The last thing she tells the doctor is that if she doesn't get out soon, she will be claimed. Afterward, we see Kate has decided to visit the support group that Helena told her about. Dr. Ellis gives a lecture about sleep. He says almost everyone will experience sleep paralysis. Soon, we see several people talking about their experiences with nightmares. None of them could see it, but they felt the presence of evil. One of them, a man wearing sunglasses, says she is there in the room watching them. Just like Helena, he is terrified to speak her name. The man is Saul, saying he sees her, even though he's awake. At that moment, Ellis asks him who he's talking about. Saul does not mention her name, yet somebody else does. That man is Doogie, who instructs Saul not to sleep. As Ellis keeps saying the sleep demon is not real, Doogie loses his calm. He comes to Saul, warning him that if he sleeps tonight, he will lose his life. Then the rebellious man removes Saul's glasses to show his red eyes. He further informs Saul that his seeing Mara during wakefulness indicates he's in the final stage. Doogie is very vocal, yelling that Mara is very real. She will claim them all, according to him. After knocking down a man who stands up to him, Doogie storms out of the room. At another time, Kate talks to McCarthy about Doogie. She thinks he could even be the culprit, because his words seem to have threatened Saul. That causes them to get into an argument, which results in McCarthy ordering Kate to go home. If she keeps acting up, her current homicide case will be the last she will ever work on. At her home, Kate listens to her phone message. It is Helena, saying that Mara is getting closer even though she does not speak her name. She wants to see Sophie so she can say goodbye to her. That prompts Kate to call the hospital. Unfortunately, it is closed at these hours. Later, Saul douses himself in gasoline outside because of his intense fear. He prays to God in front of a church before lighting on fire. After that, Kate seems to be paralyzed on her couch at home. We see that someone is hiding under her table. Once it makes a loud noise, Kate can move. She starts walking slowly toward the table, and her phone starts ringing, frightening her. It is McCarthy, informing the doctor he is with Saul right now. However, he's not with him in an ordinary sense. The next scene has Kate standing with the detective as they observe the captured Doogie from another room. They soon occupy that room with him. McCarthy asks the man if he knows all the people who lost their lives recently, but he just answers that he has no comment on them. He won't answer any questions. Doogie says he warned Saul, he didn't end him. Kate takes another approach with him. She asks for him to talk about Mara. She also asks if he knew Takahashi. To these questions, Doogie finally opens up. He met Takahashi in the group sessions. He was the first one to see Mara. Doogie thought he was crazy, until he received a visit too. So they both started looking into the matter. He says Mara has been ending people since the dawn of time. At that point, McCarthy becomes angry and asks if Doogie took Takahashi's life. Again, the man gives a negative to that. He then shows his red eye. If someone has it, they are marked. Being marked in that way means losing one's life in their sleep. In McCarthy's office, Kate suggests that Doogie may have eliminated those people, yet as a different personality. Of course, being a psychologist, she offers the possibility from her field. McCarthy gives her the uplifting news that Helena can now go home, because she's no longer a suspect. However, tragedy strikes once Kate visits her. She finds the woman lifeless in her bed. This happening devastates our heroine. She knows that the poor woman didn't get a chance to be with Sophie, something she wanted above all else. Back at her home, Kate lies in her bathtub, perhaps contemplating everything that has occurred. Soon, she becomes paralyzed. While in that state, she observes a shadow behind the curtain. When it vanishes, Kate can move again. Just like last time, the entity is no longer there. To make matters worse, Kate looks in the mirror to discover she has a red eye. Following this, the doctor enters the police station to see McCarthy. His not being at his office allows her to enter. She sees a file on Doogie, making her take some pictures of his home. She also finds a flash drive that has a video of Helena's demise on it. Being brave, Kate starts watching it right there in the detective's office. In the video, she witnesses how Helena moves around chaotically in bed until she settles in her deceased state. Stopping at a certain frame, Kate observes a shadowy figure sitting on Helena. Seeing this prompts her to drive somewhere. Upon arriving, she knocks on the door of a house. It is Doogie who opens it. He rudely tells her to leave, but she shows him her red eye, realizing that she did not come there to be a nuisance. He now lets her inside. His place is full of research regarding Mara. He claims she is a phenomenon all over the world. She even predates Christ. Many people have experienced her. Keeping with her profession, Kate says they could still be hallucinations, not the observances of a sleep demon. Doogie, however, says if that is the case, how come they all see her, including Kate? The man is very much engaged in his research, almost maniacally mentioning the many cases of people losing their lives in sleep. Kate then poses the question, if millions see Mara, why does she only eliminate a few? Doogie does not possess the answer to that. Supposedly, Mara strikes after a tragedy. Moving on, the man tells her she is at stage 2 in her condition. Stage 4 is the last one. When somebody sleeps in that stage, it's over for them. Why is he still alive? Kate asks Doogie. He tells her he sleeps for 20 minutes at a time. His days must be very broken due to that. He figured out that Mara comes once a person is in deep sleep. The expert has a loud alarm to help wake him up. The last time he had a proper sleep could have been as much as 1 month ago. Then he starts acting up too much, causing Kate to leave. She cannot believe what she just heard from him. Before she drives away, Doogie yells out that she should discover how Mara chooses her victims so they can stop her. The next scene has Kate showing Dr. Ellis the video of Helena's demise. She also talks about the red eye, along with some of the research Doogie shared with her. To everything, Ellis offers a swift scientific explanation. Afterward, he brings her into another room. There, he informs the doctor that what people see in sleep paralysis is influenced by the culture around them. When he had it, he perceived Freddy Krueger. Other people experienced witches. Yet Kate says Mara isn't part of their culture. Why is she seeing her? Because Helena told her about her visions, says Ellis. The man's conclusive point is that Mara isn't real. Kate has nothing to fear. After that, Kate rests soundly at home. She has placed her faith in what Dr. Ellis told her. We also see Doogie sleeping at his place. Unfortunately, his generator stops working while he's in one of his 20-minute sleep interval. That causes his power to disappear. Now his loud alarm will not sound off. Conversely, Kate wakes up to silence. A few seconds later, she hears a child yell from a distance. It makes her get up to search. She looks outside to see a young girl there, who looks like she could be Sophie. Following this, Kate turns around to see an angry Helena, who yells at Kate that she left her alone to lose her life. That causes the woman to wake up. She lies in bed, paralyzed, while witnessing Mara walking around. Once the sleep demon draws near, Kate wakes up for real, and later, Kate calls Sophie's grandfather, because she wants to check on the girl. He informs Kate that the girl is doing terribly, having nightmares. Tomorrow is also Helena's funeral. He just wants Kate to leave them alone. The next scene shows us the funeral. Kate sits inside her car, watching how everyone who attended leaves the building. While she sits, she receives a message from Doogie. He tells her he fell asleep, which now means he's at stage 4. Since he pleads for her to help him, Kate soon arrives. The traumatized man cries as she attempts to comfort him. She ends up bringing him to Ellis, who treats Doogie to a manageable state. He lies in bed, getting informed by Ellis's associate that they will wake him up if anything unusual starts happening. When Kate talks to Doogie alone, he tells her he knows why Mara comes to him. It's because of what happened to him during a war he was in. He tells a story about how he shot at an oncoming car that would not stop. Woefully, his action resulted in him shooting a mother, who was holding her lifeless baby. He cries over the mistake he made. Kate tries to calm him, and advises him to sleep. At that point, Doogie lets go to let sleep claim him. As time passes, Ellis monitors Doogie's sleep along with his coworker. Since nothing happens for a while, the associate leaves to have a smoke. Kate also falls asleep on a chair. Soon enough, she wakes up, paralyzed. Mara is there to take our heroine again, though the person she's truly interested in now is the one in stage 4. So Kate observes how Mara comes to Doogie. As the sleep demon picks him up, Ellis becomes alerted by the increased activity on the monitor. Unprofessionally, his coworker is still on her break. The doctor then sees what is happening to Doogie without seeing Mara. Once he comes to the man, it is already too late. However, he still has a chance to save Kate, who is getting choked by Mara. Ellis uses that chance to wake her up before the situation becomes critical. After she awakens, she runs to Doogie to grieve over his demise. Shortly after, we see the police are now there. Ellis tells McCarthy he doesn't understand this phenomenon at all. His previous confidence in science has now been replaced by his utter bewilderment at this paranormal occurrence. Soon, McCarthy gets a phone call, to which he responds with disappointment. In the next scene, Kate arrives at a hospital to see Sophie with her grandfather. The girl seems to be in stage 4. Upon seeing Kate, Sophie tells her that she is behind her, not being able to speak Mara's name. That prompts the doctor to instruct Sophie's grandfather that he should not allow his granddaughter her sleep. If she sleeps, she will meet her end. The man takes offense to that, and tells Kate to leave. So she goes to Doogie's home to search for something. While she looks at the research there, she remembers the many statements Doogie told her. It doesn't take long for her to angrily tear down many of the articles. With new space available on the wall, Kate places photos of all the victims Mara recently claimed, in addition to the dates on which she claimed them. Kate tries to understand the link between all of them. Eventually, she finds a box that contains articles on some of the victims' problems. She tapes them under the pictures. For Helena, she realizes her problem is that she blames herself for Matthew's demise. Kate's problem is that she blames herself for the demise of Helena. Once she looks at all these problems, something still looks wrong. There is no initiating tragedy that could have sparked everyone's guilt into existence. That is when she looks at Takahashi's empty space. It prompts her to call McCarthy to ask him what the man did. She demands to know, so the detective tells her. In Japan, Takahashi was a chef at an elementary school. He bought cheap fish that was contaminated, which brought 38 children after it was served to them. That is the tragedy that ignited Mara's presence. Mara is drawn to guilt. Her presence spreads across people who are connected to the ones already marked, while carrying their own guilt. Kate explains to McCarthy what each victim did to experience guilt. That makes the man ask what Sophie is guilty about. The doctor believes she feels guilty because she spoke to her. At that moment, she realizes she urgently has to tell Sophie that none of this is her fault. As she drives, Kate has a hard time staying awake. She hallucinates seeing Sophie straight ahead. Because of that, she swerves her car to crash it. No longer having a ride, she boards a boat that will take her to the hospital. Just like in her car, she has trouble staying awake there. Except it is even worse, because she doesn't have to focus on driving. Due to this, her physiology wins, and the doctor falls asleep. She awakens with excessively red eyes, while also hearing noises. Soon, she sees somebody fall behind the window. Lucky for her, 2 normal people enter her area. Neither of them is Mara. Then she continues to look outside, to get a very close surprise scare from the sleep demon. Supposedly, the boat has arrived because she runs out to enter the hospital. Walking in, Kate sees Mara behind her. She has to move quickly to save Sophie. Shortly after, she comes to the girl to tell her it wasn't her fault. But Mara starts forming under the blanket. Kate tells her she's the guilty one, not Sophie. She urges the girl to wake up, while telling her she's innocent. Afterward, Mara vanishes. Sophie lies awake, telling Kate she doesn't blame her. That brings the doctor to hug her. It is over, she says. The girl instantly falls asleep. There is nothing left for Kate to do except to join the girl who lost her parents. So she falls asleep on the chair, finally acquiring her much-needed restoration. Hours later, McCarthy wakes her up. He wants her to understand that demons exist only in the mind. After that, she comes to an awake Sophie, much to her dismay. The girl turns around with blackened eyes, telling Kate she forgives her, though her mother cannot. Behind her, Helena lies in her deceased position to remind the doctor that she left her alone. Then, disturbingly, McCarthy and Sophie's grandfather both point Kate to a sleeping version of herself. After witnessing that, she wakes up as that version while paralyzed. Mara emerges from the darkness. She is a nightmarish lady with disfigured limbs. The demon levitates before coming to claim our heroine.